Hi, Kathy Munso Day here. It's Palm Sunday, and in honor of that, I'm wearing my Grandma Kutcher's hats. During the 50s and 60s, you would never see her going to church without her beloved hats. I'm going to be reading from A Light in the Attic by Shel Silverstein. How not to have to dry the dishes. If you have to dry the dishes, such an awful boring chore. If you have to dry the dishes instead of going to the store. If you have to dry the dishes and you drop one on the floor, maybe they won't let you dry the dishes anymore. The Sitter. Mrs. McTwitter, the babysitter. I think she's a little bit crazy. She thinks a babysitter's supposed to sit upon the baby. Shaking. Geraldine, now, stop shaking that cow. For heaven's sake, for your sake and the cow's sake, that's the dumbest way I've seen to make a milkshake. Fancy dive. The fanciest dive that was ever dove was done by Melissa of Coconut Grove. She bounced on the board and flew into the air. With a twist of her head and a twirl of her hair, she did 34 jackknives, back flipped and spun, quadrupled gainer and reached for the sun, then somersaulted 9 times and a quarter, and looked down in the pool and saw it had no water. That would be a lot of trouble. Backward Bill. I think my hat's on backward too. Backward Bill, he lives up on Backward Hill, which is really a hole in the sandy ground, but that's a hill turned upside down. Backward Bill's got a backward shack with a big front porch that's built out back. You walk through the window and look out the door, and the cellar is up on the very top floor. Backward Bill, he rides like the wind, don't know where he's going, but sees where he's been. His spurs go neigh, and his horse goes clang, and his 6 gun goes nab, and it never goes bang. Backward Bill's got a backward pup. They eat their supper when the sun comes up, and he's got a wife named Backward Lil. She's my own true hate, says Backward Bill. Backward Bill wears his hat on his toes and puts on his underwear over his clothes, and comes every payday, he pays his boss and rides off a-smilin', carrying his hoss. Bear in there. There's a polar bear in our Frigidaire, and he likes it 'cause it's cold in there, with his seat in the meat and his face in the fish and his big hairy paws in the buttery dish. He's nibbling the noodles. He's munching the rice. He's slurping the soda. He's licking the ice, and he lets out a roar if you open the door, and it gives me a scare to know he's in there, that polar bear in our Frigidaire. Fun picture. Squishy touch. Everything King Midas touched turned to gold, the lucky fellow. Every single thing I touch turns to raspberry jello. Today I touched the kitchen wall. Swish! I went and bunched my brother Paul. Splish! I tried to fix my bike last week. Sploosh! I kissed my mother on her cheek. Bloosh! I got into my overshoes. Sklush! I tried to read the evening news. Smush! I sat down in the easy chair. Splush! I tried to comb my wavy hair. Slush! I took a dive into the sea. Glush! Would you like to shake hands with me? Wild strawberries. Are wild strawberries really wild? Will they scratch an adult or snap at a child? Should you pet them or let them run free where they roam? Could they ever relax in a steam-heated home? Can they be trained not to growl at the guest? Will a litter box work, or will they leave a mess? Can we make them a cowberry herding the cows, or maybe a muleberry pulling the plows, or maybe a huntberry chasing the grouse, or maybe a watchberry guarding the house? And though they may curl up at your feet oh so sweetly, can you ever feel that you could trust them completely? Or should we make a pet out of something less scary, like the domestic prune or the imported cherry. Anyhow, you've been warned, and I will not be blamed if your wild strawberry cannot be tamed. I used to love to stop at the gas station, put a penny in, and get a big piece of bubble gum on my way to school. This is called gum eyeball. There's an eyeball in the gumball machine, right there between the red and the green, looking at me as if to say, you don't need any more gum today. Hot dog. I have a hot dog for a pet. The only kind my folks would let me get. He does smell sort of bad, and yet he never gets the sofa wet. We have a butcher for a vet. The strangest vet you've ever met. Guess we're the weirdest family yet to have a hot dog for a pet. Last one, called peckin'. The saddest thing I ever did see was a woodpecker pecking at a plastic tree. Friend, he says as he looked at me, things ain't as sweet as they used to be.